We're back on the Exit 52 podcast, instant analysis, Sunday night, November 26th, 11:34 p.m. Shout out to Superman 11:34. What a song. My name's Jake Luke. I'm joined by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz. And here we are. The Ravens stun the San Diego Chargers. Let me switch my
Ravens take out the Chargers with a big fat dub, shocking them when it felt like the Chargers might be able to swindle a win. The Ravens were able to grab victory out of the jaws of defeat, doing that whole
out of the jowls of defeat, some might say. Sorry about that.
Jowls. Oh, you're good. The jowls of defeat. The Ravens able to not let one slip through their fingers that many thought they would. The NBC production throws on a wonderful little graphic there and says, oh, the Ravens have blown 12 fourth quarter leads dating back over the last 3 years or whatever it was. Oh, the Chargers have lost 7 consecutive one-score games. And it feels like the unstoppable force of Brandon Staley making last-minute boo-boos meets the immovable object of John Harbaugh's dead stone face.
A true tornado meets a volcano situation. Shout out to Bad Girl.
King Kong versus Godzilla, some might say.
What was this fucking game, man? I don't, it looked like things were moving swimmingly there for the offense early. Defense was doing their thing, and then the offense just kind of, stalled out. It kind of reminded the old Vince Young quote, chill out for the first 3 quarters, then go the fuck off. But they didn't even really go the fuck off in the fourth quarter. They got that one drive that they needed. And they had one, and they smoked it per my recommendation with the little Zay Flowers end-around type play there, or jet sweep, whatever it was. Sneaky almost had a little bit of a Justice Hill situation there on the handoff there, but he secures it down, slips his way inside, and he just takes off. And shout out to the Settleman with the all-time bad take there that he should have gotten down. I think you gotta plunge that knife in there, like you were saying.
I needed to watch Zay Flowers do what he did. Going down there doesn't do it. And the Ravens were able to get off the field so many times. And you just have to give a credit to Mike McDonald's unit. You have to give a credit to Roquan Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, guys like Patrick Queen, guys like Kyle Hamilton, guys like Justin Madubuike, guys like Brandon Stevens. And the Ravens are able to get off the field time and time and time again. And much to Justin Herbert's credit, I thought he hung in there. I think he played he wasn't spectacular by any means, but I think Justin Herbert played about as well as he could have, given what was called, what options he had, where he could go with the football, and the talent around him. And the Ravens were able to get off the field time and time and time and time and time again, aside from really one field goal they allow after a nice scripted drive from the Chargers, able to get off the field there ultimately, and then a touchdown drive where Justin Herbert steps up, breaks contain, and flips the field. And after getting off the field on, I think, a 19-play drive, the Ravens defense just gassed. Chargers go 4 of 13 on 7 of 15 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth down, including a late stop to really end the game there on 4th and long. Herbert not even able to really get anything going. Chargers rush for 86 yards, most of which, not most, but a large chunk on that Herbert scramble. Ravens did a nice job being able to keep Austin Eckler and Josh Kelly in tight. And the Ravens win the total net yardage, 361 to 279. The Ravens finished with 197 yards on the ground. And to me, this feels like a game as we welcome in one Senor Taylor Smythe. It felt like a game where the Ravens ran for 197 yards. And sure, a good bit of that is on the Zay Flowers dagger. But felt like a game where they should have run for 300 yards. Felt like a game where they should have done what they did to the Seahawks and what they did to the Lions. There's a sequence there, and we have a lot to talk about. There's a sequence there, I believe in the fourth quarter. The Ravens get a stop, get the ball back, and Gus Edwards on their own side of the field gets a nice little 5-6 yard gain, I think on a split zone concept, something like that. I'm trying to scroll and find it. But then the Ravens just throw 2 incompletions in a row and punt the ball right back to the Chargers right after getting off the field. It felt like we saw Lamar Jackson get a little bit spooked at the end of the first half. His protection was crappy. He gets hit a couple times. He starts getting into that quick feet, quick processing, quick, a little too fast, which makes him slow at other times. The tempo and rhythm falls off. Would have just really liked to see Mike can slow things down and just ride Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell. And it feels like that's such a post-game thing on your local radio station to always say. But man, couldn't they have just ridden Gus Edwards and Keaton Mitchell a little bit earlier, a little bit more often, and probably put this one away early? But don't want to be the girl crying loss when you want. And the Ravens do enough, particularly on the defensive side of the football, to get off there. A couple really weird challenge situations, really weird calls. Starts out with a Justin Herbert getting kind of knocked out of bounds. Definitely should have been a flag. Geno Stone, I think the hit was a little bit exaggerated because of the sound of Geno Stone's elbow, it looked like, hitting Herbert in the shoulder pads. But Jake and Taylor, what were you guys' thoughts on that whole debacle that started early on with challenges, non-challenges, calls, non-calls? I mean, it was a ref show, it was a hardball show, and everything in between.
So the challenges, it was egregious not to challenge those two, right? It certainly was. I think that first one, I mean, I really don't know what was going on with that one. The second one, I mean, you know, that's certainly like to me, the story there more is like refs. What the fuck are we doing? Absolutely. That's always going to be the story. But yeah, bad job by John. But to me, like that was almost going to obscure the fact that the story of this game for me was the offensive line along the perimeter. Absolutely. Because it looked like they were covering up for that pretty well when the offense was humming a little bit early. We mentioned the RPOs and how effective they were and how those quick passes were kind of an extension of the run game. And the run game was doing okay in and of itself. Keaton Mitchell actually got the start in this game, and he looked pretty good, I thought. And as soon as the offensive line just kind of started to crumble, that facade started to crack, and the Chargers were making some things happen with their front seven. Khalil Mack looking great. They were just overpowered by this front seven. And this defense is not particularly very good, and they have some good players. I know Joey Bosa's out, but Khalil Mack is in there and everything. Overall, to me, this offensive line, I mean, that was a concerning performance, and this is a much-needed bye week coming up. Ronnie Stanley has to get right. Like, he has to get right moving forward, because if they had not walked away with a win here, I know everyone would be talking about the challenges, but to me, it was the offensive line. Taylor, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the like easy storyline to talk about is definitely some of the coaching decisions. Spenny kind of, went over the offensive decision making. I thought at times was a little spotty in terms of what they were trying to do. And I don't know how you don't have someone in the booth that's radioing down to tell you to challenge those calls. I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, we know that they do have someone doing that.
Yeah.
I just don't
everybody
know what goes into this decision.
The officiating there, the officiating there is obviously awful too. I mean, like, you shouldn't even have to make those calls, but to like not have them made. I also think
those play calls, by the way, Taylor, after the non-challenges, they were just rushing those out too.
Yeah. They were just rushing those out. Freaking
who drew those up? Was it Kevin Smith?
Andrew Kevin Walker did the one against the Chiefs 2 years ago. This one was Kevin
Smith. Andrew Kevin Walker Roman.
I mean, Kevin Smith would write a direct snap to Gus Edwards when you have Lamar Jackson. I mean, he'd probably do that. But yeah, to me, I agree with what you said about the offensive line, Jake. This is the Ravens defense on a primetime game. This is their kind of like announcement to the world, I think. To me, that was my main takeaway from the game. I know they allowed some yards, but the 4 takeaways, the just like taking the life out of the Chargers at really every point. I just think that they really stepped up in this game. Obviously, you win a game 20-10 when you're up 13-10 and you get the game. So Zay Flowers, I feel like this will be a reference for Maryland fans. I feel like Randy Edsall with Cam Chisholm running a kick return back. Shout out to my guy Keith Snedden, who brought that to my attention. Very good reference by him in a text. But I just was so impressed defensively by what they did. I know, the Chargers obviously have some weapons. They have Eckler, they have Keenan Allen. They're not fully stocked with no Mike Williams, but I just think they're fantastic. Roquan and Queen flying around as they normally do. Kyle Hamilton's starting to kind of ascend into this like national conversation about best defensive players in the league. I think that's going to start to happen. The way
all pro, and Mike Tirico said it. He's definitely elevated into that all pro conversation.
Yep.
And watching him do it on a national stage, he was arguably the story of the night.
Yeah. I mean, he just did it in every which way. So to me, like obviously there'll be a ton of discussion about the offense not being able to finish drives and what the play calling situation was and all that. But I think the defensive performance should not be understated here. They were fantastic. Created the turnovers they needed to. and kind of did everything else. So I was very impressed. They're not even with no Marlon, out there. I mean, they really put it together. And by the way, when Mike Macdonald needed to dial up a great defensive call, he did consistently throughout the game. So.
And consistent great efforts. I mean, the Clowney, the strip sack, just when they needed it. Arthur Mullet, essentially with the sack, just when they needed it. Turned into intentional grounding. But yeah, you're right. Just when they need these plays.
That was a great play by Clowney too. Like the speed rush, and then the way he kind of like contorted his body to like come back with his hand down onto Herbert. By the way, I kind of feel bad for Justin Herbert when I watch the Chargers. I'm just like, this guy is going out there. He gets killed in every game. He's
got like, it's been like 6 weeks and he still has his middle finger like on his non-throwing hand, just completely wrapped up
really hard. He keeps trying and they're just not well coached.
Dude, that 35-yard scramble, that was like, is this the moment? Like, is this kind of the dagger that we're going to look back at? And no,
where he finally,
they tightened up.
Just you watch him and you're like, how do they have him and how are they 4-6 or 4-7? It's just like, feel for them. So they got to figure something out. But this is not a Chargers podcast. But that just comes every time the Chargers come on my screen and I watch like a quarter or they come on Red Zone and Justin Herbert's just running for his life. Or
last week he throws a dime to Quentin Johnston against the Packers at the end of the game and it just caroms off his fingertips. And it was written in stone that Zay Flowers would pop off in this game in the face of the Chargers, who did choose to take someone that clearly had red flags. And I liked Quentin Johnston coming out. I thought he was a Laviska Shenault type with a little more speed and someone that you can get the football in his hand in creative ways, try to develop him. He's got more speed, so you can hope he can do some things at deep target. But man, oh man, I mean, they showed the graphic 50 times. That's going to be, it feels like for years, looking back on Addison, who's such a nice player already. Jackson Smith and Jigba hasn't lit the world on fire yet, but has started to round into form after an injury. And
man, just the one-handed catch on Thursday kind of showed you what he could do there.
Certainly, and we all saw it. You see the flashes starting to pile on in as he gets comfortable after that injury. But man, Zay Flowers generating separation in the end zone, going up and grabbing that ball, yanking it out. To me, it's I guess kind of switch gears there though. It's just the epitome of this game came down to, I think, 3 plays here. 3 plays. So Lamar Jackson scrambles, gets pushed out of bounds by Kenneth Murray on 3rd and 3 with 4 minutes and 48 seconds left in the second quarter. And that maybe Lamar Jackson didn't get it. And we hear, what is it? Terry McCauley on the NBC broadcast saying that, at the time the ball went out of bounds, so on and so forth. Okay, that's fine. I get it. But it just felt like in the first half, you want to slow things down. You don't care about a timeout maybe as much when you're going to get the ball after halftime. And to me, it felt like Harbaugh, and Jake, we've talked about this so many times, wants to be the smartest in the room, wants to be so smart. I would wager a couple of shekels, just a couple coins, that Harbaugh said, no, that's okay. We'll go for it. I think we can get it because I want to keep my 3rd timeout in my pocket because I want to get the ball back again after we go for it and get it and score so that I can try and double up, so that I can go try and kick a field goal before the end of halftime, maybe score a touchdown, then get the ball back and score again. I guarantee that doubling up at the half in some way crossed John Harbaugh's mind, and it so often feels like they try to drive over the bridge before it's built. Slow the game down. You have the better team. You have the better record. You have the better and hey, Herbert's outstanding. Lamar's playing winning football. And not that Herbert's not necessarily, but you've got the guy that's winning games. Slow the game down. You might even, guess what? Get the challenge. You might win the challenge, John. So that was so peculiar and felt so wrong and off. Then they go into the second play of it, which is a wildcat direct snap to Gus Edwards with freaking Gus Edwards or with Lamar Jackson motioned out wide as we have bye week B coming up. Hello, Brian. You look great.
How we doing?
Doing well. We're talking about the freaking you hear us. So the wildcat, Gus Edwards, stuffed. Okay. Chargers run the ball once, and then Roquan Smith comes up and just suns Keenan Allen, just holds him up and knocks him down. And those 3 plays were the epitome of this football game. Mike Macdonald his guys, his defense, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, Kyle Hamilton, Justin Madubuike, Jadeveon Clowney, those guys won this game. And boy, oh boy, did they have to make play after play. Like, this wasn't a defense that was like playing tight coverage and, just being sound. It was like, no, they had to go strip Justin Herbert. They had to go punch the ball out. They had to go pick the ball off, get off the field on fourth down, get pressure. Like, they had to take this game away from the Chargers. So as equally as confounding and confusing as it was watching John Harbaugh's decision-making several times, it was equally impressive from the Ravens defense to punch the Chargers in the fucking face and take this game away to move to 9-3 here and sit atop the AFC. Brian, thoughts? I know you have many on these challenges, these calls, these situations, these high leverage plays.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you've gotten into so far, but this game was the masterpiece for the Mike McDonald should be the next head coach and Harbaugh needs to go crowd. Like, this is the game that everyone will go to. You said it exactly right. The phrase, like, your best offense is a great defense is a phrase that's not exactly applicable here. Like, they literally had to go on the attack. They attacked and attacked and attacked. And as the game progressed, they had to dial that up even more. And they came up huge, like, time and time again. And we've seen games where, like, they've been asked to do that one too many times and it comes back to pay. And this time it didn't. But man, like, as I was just writing the blog and posted on Barstool a couple minutes ago, I had to, like, continue to think of the other thing and then the other thing and then the other thing that Harbaugh did along the way. That was just like, what are we doing here? Like, even the fourth down that you mentioned with the Wildcat run with Gus, we had a very similar fourth down later in the game where we're in shotgun. Like, why are we doing that? Like, why don't we just do what every other team is doing in today's NFL? It doesn't need to be a tush push, but, like, just, like, power through, take the yard, just be bigger and more physical than them. We're typically more physical than opposition year in and year out. Lean into that. Like, what are we doing? It's just, it's so recurring that it's hard to imagine this team reeling off 3 to 4 games against really good teams and not having these issues reoccur again and end up having it shoot us in the foot and eventually end our season. We got a bye week and we've got some really tough games coming up where we can hopefully fix those things. But, like, something is broken in the process, whether it's challenges or in-game decision-making. Like, everything has to be evaluated during this bye week and those processes need to be fixed. Like, it's not a philosophical thing, or it's just like a complete and total broken system that they have in place right now.
I almost like the phrase here that doing something wrong is better than taking too long to think about doing nothing. Like, the definition, whatever, I botched that. You guys know what I mean. But
it makes sense. I don't know.
It's the indecision phrase, whatever that is. Indecision versus decision. And I think that is epitomized later even in the fact that we had a comment here, Matt B. You go Justice Hill, handoff. I don't know if anyone else is picking up on this, but Harbaugh is rapping into the play sheet, has the play sheet covering his mouth. I don't see that very often.
There was also right around that same time in the game, Eric DeCosta is like 5 feet away from him and he's talking over to him and, like, what they're going to do if they don't get it was weird, man.
I haven't seen that before.
You can't close a game out by committee. Absolutely. And I think, like, that it goes back to what we talked about, Spenny, even a couple of years ago, where in 2019, it was, hey, do you want to go for this? Do you want to go for that? Very collaborative and it was all working. But at a certain point, like, when that stopped working, 2 years ago, last year, whatever it was, John, just fucking make a decision. Just be decisive and go out there and, and like you said, Brian, just simplify it. Just follow Pat Ricard. Hand the ball to Gus Edwards in these clutch situations. How many times have we seen that where he comes in and he closes a game out and it's just way easier and, way more simple than it looks oftentimes. Like, it doesn't have to be as complicated as they're making it look.
More is lost by indecision than wrong decision. There we go. That's what I wanted to get out of my mouth.
You're Mr. Old Wise Tale sayings here. You've got the Ozzie Newsome, Nick Saban thing with the, past performance, future performance. Now you got
big Confucius guy. Big Confucius guy.
Are you entering your Stoic era?
But what's troubling you, Brian?
I don't even know if Gus Edwards was set in the right spot on that direct snap. I think he was 2 yards deeper than he should have been.
For it. Yeah, he had to reach up for it.
I don't even think he knew what yard the line of scrimmage was at. It was total unpreparedness. It was rushed.
It was amateur hour.
It wasn't Mark Ingram against the Texans, full head of steam, just take it and fucking go. It was very much he had to, Adam Jones it, and then, he had no momentum going forward.
But it's the definition. So then we get back to, and what I wanted to hit on was the 3rd and 3 here. Justice Hill, you can have a whole conversation about that. Fuck it. It's Justice Hill. But then the Ravens couldn't decide to get the field goal unit on in time comfortably. So then suddenly it was almost a delay of game. I thought it was going to be a delay of game. The ball gets snapped. Tucker yanks one. And sure, if you want to have a conversation about Tucker, go ahead. I'm not going to participate in it. But how are you that panicked at that point in the game with timeouts and knowing that, guess what? If you probably just took a delay of game, what was the field goal? I don't know, 47 yards.
44. It's 44.
40. That's even worse. So you turn it into 49. Tucker is fine. 45 to 50 is the same difference to Justin Tucker.
It reminded me of Sunday when they rushed him out there in the AFC Championship.
Exactly. And to your point, Harbaugh made me feel like a jerk tonight. Earlier this year, I'm like, well, he historically has been a very good game manager, and he hasn't been this year. In close games, he has not been at all this year. Steelers game, that felt panicked. Colts game, made a blunder. I've been playing a lot of chess lately. Blunder. Gave up a rook. Blunder again tonight, rushed onto the field. Blunder, Justice Hill's on the field. Blunder, don't challenge. Blunder, don't challenge again. And lo and behold, ultimately, we have Greg Fritz here saying 42. So sure, whatever. That's like a 95% field goal to a 93% field goal by taking a fucking delay a game instead of rushing it and doing this panicky bullshit. So I don't trust. There's 2 things that I don't trust about this Ravens team right now. Actually, I'll say 3. If you want to have a meta conversation, I guess to shift it going into the bye, we can come back, talk about other things. I'm rambling, but I don't trust John Harbaugh right now in these high leverage situations. I don't trust the Ravens offensive line, and I don't trust Lamar Jackson when protection breaks down. He has consistently gotten spooked. And I think that I think all quarterbacks are capable of getting spooked, but we have seen 4 games. They have lost 3 of them where he has gotten spooked by getting hit. He got spooked by pressure. I don't think that it's even just that. I don't think that the collaborative effort of Todd Monken and John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson and all of the offensive coaches and the wide receivers, the offense as a whole and the team are alleviating pressure effectively enough when their offensive line starts getting their shit pushed in. They are not finding answers to quell pressure once Lamar Jackson gets spooked. And then he gets erratic, and then their offense stalls out, and then their defense is on the field. The Chargers had a 19-play drive in the second half. And it was just how? How is this happening again? So those, to me, are the 3 things I'm looking at this bye week. When shit hits the fan, protection-wise, how are you going to turn the boat around? How are you going to drop your anchor and lock all the windows, lock all the doors, calm down, bear down? So those things to me are just a perfect time, but I don't know that they can fix it. So it's troubling, but the Ravens are 9-3 first in the AFC, and every team outside of the Eagles has problems right now.
I have one suggestion as it relates to the in-game coaching. Do we, during this bye week, just pick up the phone and call Jerry Rosberg? Is that a viable solution?
There was a big punt return late in this game as well. The Chargers had a big punt return, probably 20, 25 yards they rattled off from the sideline, wrapped it back around and up the other sideline, and stole a bunch of field position on a simple slew of bad angles.
I'm not even talking about for
Rosberg was AHC, as well.
Yeah, I'm not even talking for the special team side of things. I'm talking about what the Broncos essentially did for Nathaniel Hackett last year, which was we need to get some guy in here who knows what the fuck to do with the timeouts, with the clock, with the down and distance, with just all those little things. We just need a goddamn game management guru or something. But that's what a head coach is supposed to be.
Your boy Stern, and he is the man in the booth.
Well, that's what I'm saying. At a certain point, it's hey, John, just figure it the fuck out, man. Take a bye week, have a couple margaritas, maybe go out back, have a, smoke a little ganj and just chill the fuck out. And like, let's just get through this bye week. These guys are probably fried, and they've played so much football, all the way, through the entire season. Like, it's just been game after game and a lot of travel and a lot of this. And it's just like, let's just take this bye week, circle it up. And like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the whole thing about winning games by committee, it just like, I don't really agree with that. And I think you
can just tell that it's not like 2019. To add on to your point, there's too many chefs in the kitchen. You can feel it.
Yeah. And I do think that it would be wise for DaCosta to not be on the sideline and say this to John, but sit him down in his office over the bye week. They live next to each other. Just sit him down and say, hey man, you're the fucking captain here. Let's just calm things down. You've done this before. Obviously it hasn't gone great this year, but let's just reprioritize things. Let's get our shit together essentially, and just get back out there and get ready to go win against a gauntlet of teams, because it's going to be a very tough stretch to close it out. But ultimately, I don't want to just totally harp on the bad parts of it, because they did get the win here tonight. And I think a big part of that goes back to talent. And you have to give DaCosta a lot of credit, because when this play with Zay Flowers was needed to be made in a game like this last year, no fucking chance. No way. You would have James.
They Duvernay on the sweep instead.
Duvernay on the sweep. Yeah, exactly. Like,
they tried to.
Yeah, well, they did, and one of them really didn't work out. And like, you just the talent was not there at this time last year. Now they have talent to overcome. It's just a matter of settling things down, and that's where I'm a little more encouraged. You have Zay Flowers making the play on the touchdown. You have him making the play to close things out. A coming out game for him on the big stage was huge. A coming out game for Kyle Hamilton on the big stage was huge. That's a big confidence builder for these players at the very least. So that's good. But yeah, man, John, take the fucking bye week and figure your shit out, because like you got to figure it out. And ultimately, like, I am encouraged by the win, because what did I say, Spenny, after those two losses against the Colts and the Steelers, where I was freaking out a little bit? I was saying you can't afford to lose games like this, because you're going to have tough games where you got to go against the Chargers across the country on prime time. And if you lose those, that's when you get in trouble. So at least they got the win here. But yeah, definitely some things to iron out still.
100%. I don't want to dwell on too many negative things. There are definitely some concerning things. I do want to make sure, Taylor, I know you've been stewing over there. You get some thoughts in.
I don't know if I'm stewing. I think you guys like covered
it's not stewing, but you've been.
I'm doing a lot.
You've been sautéing
I'm
up
listening to you guys, which is always fun. I think that, I think it's an interesting point for the team to go into the bye week off of this game, because it's a lot of time for discussion amongst the sort of noise that will go around the team. If you win this game convincingly, you go in after that sort of magical Thursday night with the way the atmosphere was and beating a division rival and all those things. You go across the country, you beat a team that you're clearly better than, by, convincingly, and then, everyone's kind of quiet for 2 weeks and just waiting for the team to come back. Now you're going to have a week of all the stuff you guys just talked about. What is John Harbaugh doing in the game management stuff? Like, some of the stuff you talked about with Lamar spending, I think, is a good point to bring up. Like, at times he, hasn't necessarily, like, in this game, I was just waiting for him to just elevate his level to put the game away. Like, I think, we've all kind of said this in different ways. Like, if you're going to get paid $250 million, it's like, take the ball and go win the game. And he didn't necessarily do that. They obviously got it done with the Zay Flowers play at the end. But I think there's going to be weirdly negative energy around a team that at the end of the day is 9-3 and is in the position to do everything that everybody wants, right? Win the division, get the number 1 seed, put yourself in a great position to make the Super Bowl. All those things are still on tap, and they're going to get healthier. Like, Marlon's going to come back and blah, blah, blah. I think it's a very interesting, it's just the conjecture around this team is just fascinating to me. And I guess that's every team. Every team has their like little things.
Well, I think it's interesting to you at this exact point in time.
We've spent 30 minutes and 80% of it has been negative after the 9th win of the season to make.
I think I would say I'm really encouraged by the way they closed it out. And like, I'm going to give you a little pearl here, Spenny. I think it's like a Navy SEAL saying that, like, in moments of high stress, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to your level of training and preparedness. And I think we saw that, because there are moments, and we've seen it throughout the season. Look at the Browns game, where it looked like they were trying to like do too much and rise to the occasion. It looked like in this one, when it started to tilt back their way with that drive there, and obviously it didn't go well with the Tucker miss, but you had that one drive, which was pretty nice, and then you had the one to close it out. It felt like they did settle things down a little bit, and Monken had that play dialed up for Flowers, and he went and made the play. And that is where having that talent there raises your floor, raises you to be able to kind of just settle things down and meet the moment there a little bit. So that was encouraging to me.
Love it. And you know me, I hate negativity after wins, but there were just so many confusing and uncomfortable moments that occurred.
Did we talk about the halftime snafu? Like, have we touched on that?
I don't know what you're
the 8 seconds left, 4th and 14. Like, yeah. I thought Harbaugh was cooking up one of his next level things where I'm like, when it unfolds, it's like, oh, okay, that made sense. And then
they were just all over.
I was fine with that because the Chargers wouldn't really be able to do anything after a play, and if you get it, you can try for a field goal. I didn't think that one was too crazy.
It felt like there was going to be. I think they wanted a certain look, and then it was Lamar. If you don't get that exact look, throw this into the stands, and I think he just threw it in the stands. I don't know. We'll go back and watch that one. But again, to your point, Brian, it felt like collaboration, time, deliberate. Nothing. Like there's no creativity. There's no pizzazz there. Nothing at all. So many interesting things. We have some positive things I want to hit on. We can stew back. But Ian Smith here, can we talk about Isaiah Likely? Balled out in the first half. Yes, he absolutely did. Isaiah Likely is fast and strong and is a outstanding runner after the catch. I would say as a tight end, he is borderline elite after the catch. He really can put his foot in the ground, get north and south, make guys miss, run through guys. We see him jump cutting, doing all kinds of things. And I'll sidebar. I really enjoyed the clapper tonight. I thought the clapper was great.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up. Taylor, what did you think of the clapper? I thought he got subbed in there last minute for Chris. He came in. I was listen, I'm not the biggest fan of the clapper in the studio, but I thought he brought it tonight with the analysis, and he wasn't trying to do too much either. I liked it.
I thought he was fine. I can't go overboard on praise for the clapper. The clapper was subpar. For a Maryland game against Michigan State. And I can't get that out of my head. Him and Jack Collinsworth was just such a kind of monotone.
Well, that's the biggest spot in the world. How can you not get up for a game like that?
I think Tirico really helps the clapper because Tirico put him in better spots to succeed. He was like clearly trying to bring him in the conversation at moments where Collinsworth would normally just naturally insert himself because Collinsworth is the broadcast when he's on there because he's been on there for so long.
We'd be remiss to mention this. He had a little comment about Maria Taylor there. That was
I mean the clap there was the clip going around of
can't help himself.
Of Tirico trying to do like the outro into like the beach in LA, and
that was his bags of sand moment. Steve Carell.
Pretty good. It's just like it's amazing. I will say it's amazing that that's NBC's best second plan. Like if they don't have Collinsworth, it's like Jason Garrett who 75% of the country can't stand and gets made fun of every week on that pregame show. It's like that's who you put in the booth.
I thought he was good relative to expectation. I thought he was excellent.
What he did. Here's what he did a great job of. He stayed within himself. He didn't try to overdo it. He didn't try to make himself a part of the game. He just kind of, he hit some obvious things, but like as opposed to Nance and Romo during the Eagles-Bills game where they are just like constantly talking. I mean, the talking just never stops. And it's like those guys are like playing 18 at Pebble Beach and just talking, walking down the fairway. Like they can't, and they probably are tomorrow. Like they're probably like on a charter to go play tomorrow with Josh Allen. But like, there's just no stop. And Garrett was just like, he was just kind of hitting his spots. So I will give the clapper that. But this is an expectation game. I mean, the expectations were so like when he shows up in the booth at the beginning of the game, I'm sure everyone's just like, oh no. Oh, I also love the explanation that Collinsworth is just enjoying Thanksgiving with his family. Like, good for him. Like, thanks, Chris.
Him and Jack are probably just pouring out some
Jack was working the game.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised they didn't. I was going to say, I'm surprised they didn't sub Jack in there for the Chris spot. I mean, Jack had he had an abysmal showing in one of the Notre Dame games this year, so I think that might be.
You watch Notre Dame and Jack and Jason are just so kind of like along for the ride that the clapper is such a low bar for me.
Well, it was Jack's. I don't know if Jack was doing play-by-play or color, but he was in the booth for one of these games, and he was abysmal.
He does play-by-play for him. He's NBC's like him and the clapper are like NBC's Notre Dame crew and their secondary Big Ten crew. So they're on game, and you turn them on, and I'm just like, oh my god, pronounce Tagovailoa right. And I just can't. I can't do. I can't.
Under Maryland.
Jason does not know college football. Let's be honest.
Talia Tua like 7 times during.
He doesn't know college football.
I can't get this out of my head.
He doesn't know college football.
So I'm good for you guys for giving the clap.
I don't know if he's ever even coached college football. He probably has. But
he He played it.
He played it, but I don't know that he's been in the real scene in 15 plus years.
Yeah, he was fine.
years.
He was fine. The NBC Sunday night broadcast is just kind of fine right now. It's not unbelievable. It's just kind of fine. Even with Tirico and Collins.
Well, that's what I was saying, Spenny. Like their presentation is great, but the crew, maybe there's a little bit of a chemistry.
The crew I removed from that. All right, let's circle it back here. We have a bunch of other stuff. Freaking.
Do we want to expand on this with all four of us in here? This Kyle Hamilton situation. I mean, I brought it up earlier, but I mean, it's an ascension. It's a full-fledged ascension, and he's incredibly exciting to watch. And he makes wow plays. I mean, I know Roquan and Patrick Queen do that a little bit too, but Kyle Hamilton makes plays, and you're like, wow, was that really as good as I thought? And then they show the replay, and you're like, wow, he did just kind of
the Jalen Guyton, him manning up on Jalen Guyton downfield, trail tech, has the jersey, but doesn't yank it. Just has him there. Good. Has him there because that does to a receiver, lets you know, hey, I'm here. I've got you. And it makes them want to try to draw a DPI, and then you can just let go.
He's step for step with him in the end zone, too, on that third down. I know they scored right after it, but like he was right there.
He made sure that it wasn't an easy throw. I do think Guyton got a step on him, but he made sure it wasn't just like Zay Flowers.
He closed it out real well.
He's just so long. He's so long.
Yeah, that one where he was, he got.
Wow.
That one where he kind of whirled down, but like he reached his arm out. I forgot who he got the foot of there, but he turned like what probably would have been a 5+ yard gain into a 3-yard loss. I mean, he's just like
what he does on screens is unbelievable.
He
forces that delay game, jumping around. He's just.
Cam Chancellor was the comparison. He's better than Cam Chancellor.
He just has a knack for being involved. Even like I see one of the comments here, him showing blitz there and just Herbert just losing his brain for a second, taking delay a game. Like
Herbert
that could happen for numerous reasons, but
I'm fucked. I think Herbert realized I'm fucked if I don't.
He just is around the football, around the action, like anything he does on the field, it's impacting the other side. And you could tell that they're starting to see him on tape and they're just constantly in their own heads about him. Like, where's 14?
Yeah, I think he is becoming the one that you look for on that back end or that second level for sure.
Yeah, it's all pro now. That's a conversation. It's not just Pro Bowl anymore. He's firmly in the all pro conversation. I think they might have said this on the broadcast, but like, my God. And like I said, perfect to have that in a spot like this, late season, big game, prime time, him and Zay Flowers breakout. But I mean, as far as he goes, I mean, we all know I'm, a little bit of a closeted Notre Dame guy. So that was huge. You, Brian, obviously you too. So
I mean, he's just going to continue to be on big stages for the rest of the season. I mean, he's on Sunday night in 2 weeks. Then they're on the primetime game, the Monday night game or whatever that is. And then the Dolphins game is going to get flexed. So he's going to be on primetime games the rest of the year. I mean, it's
all through the most important part of the football season. He's going to be on primetime showing out. Kyle Hamilton was born in 2001.
Yeah, that's
he's 22 years old doing what he did tonight.
The only other Isaiah Likely thing I was going to say was I think in this game Monken showed you utilizing him as in a similar sort of safety valve way to Mark Andrews, but doing it differently. It's like, okay, on that 1st and 15, let's just get him out in space and let him get the like 8 yards we would have gotten from Mark Andrews just like standing in the spot and being big and catching the football. I thought that was like they used him in some different ways that I liked. The Ravens did a pretty good job, and Spenny, you have this all in your brain much better than I do. But like when they got behind the sticks a couple times tonight, they came up with some play calls that kind of got them back on schedule a little bit in second down, which I thought was
quick moving downhill. And everyone knew in those situations, whoever the ball carrier was, whether it was Lamar on a run play, whether it was a back, whether it was a receiver, tight end, they knew stick your foot in the ground, get as many yards back as you can.
Yep.
There was
Mitchell did that.
Square back up, haha. No, it was turn, go. Very efficient. And I think that has a lot to do with Keith Williams because he really is big on intentional movement, efficient movement. I've seen him in training camp and practice talking about that stuff. Those are interesting.
Lamar rolling out that Keaton Mitchell play was a perfect example of that, where a lot of guys would have like stood there and looked to make a cut. He just put his foot in the ground and got to the first down.
Beautiful. Attacking the sticks. And the interesting thing about Likely to me, what I saw, and I'll go back and watch, but Likely, right before Andrews got hurt, the Dolphins started that whole movement of fast motion in, fast motion out. Kind of we're seeing players angle their body pre-snap. Kelsey will be lined up like that a lot. We'll see it with like T. Higgins sometimes too. they were using that to get Andrews open. They were using likely to diagnose coverage. And I think that gets into a different ballpark of having receivers that are quick and fast and explosive being guys that are going to be the primary reads, as opposed to it being Andrews a lot more. They were putting Andrews in motion, kind of like an Amon-Ra St. Brown or a Cooper Kupp, because he's not that fast relative to other guys. So it's like, well, we're going to give him a running head start. But instead now it's, okay, likely he's going to tell us what the coverage is, and then it's Zay Flowers, Bateman, Odell, Aguilar. They're going to be that primary read. So, it was just peculiar because Odell started out so strong. Bateman made a couple nice snags, dropped one. Zay got involved early, and then it just really got away from them at the end of that first half. And I guess to tie it back, man, it just feels like, and I saw someone say this, and I do love Harbaugh, but they were like, Harbaugh's a pants peer, and he turns everybody else into a pants peer by peeing his pants. And it just felt like everything was under control until they didn't challenge, and then they didn't run a normal play or kick a field goal. They run some bullshit that it feels like he was involved on. And then it just, all of the nice RPOs, all of the nice calm Lamar, everything just melted away. And Jake just pulled up Jonas Schaefer. Basically, it was a night and day difference, Lamar under pressure versus not under pressure.
No pressure, 16 for 20, 159 and a touchdown. Pressure, 2 for 12 for 18 yards.
2 for 12 under pressure. Melted. And I like that comment. They turned into John Harbaugh peed his pants, and it turned them into pants peers.
They were playing a game of wet spot out there.
It just feels like such a snowball.
Don't play.
It snowballs every time. They can't snap back out of it when that situation starts to happen in those games.
Yeah, it's like that. That's really what it comes down to. And I think they have kind of shown the ability to clutch up at times throughout the season. I think that first Bengals game was a really good example of that. They haven't really needed to a ton. They've kind of gotten away in a lot of these games and kept their leads. But it's this one. There was a little bit of trickle going on. I think they tightened it up at the end there, which was nice. And then you think back to some of these other games, and obviously Pittsburgh and the Colts sort of stand out. And ultimately, it's just I think this gauntlet of games, you got to think that these are going to be some pretty close, tight games against really good teams, some of which are on the road. It's going to be a good litmus test for the playoffs here. No matter what happens, they're going to get some good experience, and hopefully they can turn it into a learning experience, because it's only going to get harder from here and once you get into January.
Yeah, I do think it's nice that, like, in the parts where I think probably every fan was like, oh no, here we go again in terms of blowing a lead and losing, that they just didn't do it. They just won.
Yeah, no,
it's not a way to get it done. When I was sitting there, with my roommate, we're watching the game, and I'm like, we were looking at each other like, well, I guess we're going to lose this. Like, this is just kind of how these have been going. And they just made enough plays to get it done. So, like, that's the positive spin.
And that's really what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. They're 9-3. Like,
and it makes you feel good too, because it felt like they were able, their defense, they had the Colts game, the Steelers game. It felt like they wanted the Steelers to score touchdowns so they could get the ball back, so the Steelers wouldn't run the clock out and kick a field goal. So I won't even count that one. But Browns game happens, Colts game, and it felt like we were starting to see those themes again. The Bengals a little bit, whatever. Bengals hanging around, and just knowing that they're going to get a bye and get rested again. I think it was, like Taylor said, I think it's just so perfect to head into the bye week, not cruising, thinking you're the man, going down and getting on a yacht before the playoff game and smoking blunts and doing whatever.
Hopefully no Tims and shirtless on a yacht.
No shirtless Tim smoking backwoods on the yacht there. It instead is, we have work to do. Let's get rested. Let's get our reps in. Let's have some conversations. Clearly, things are not ready to rock and roll all that way. But playoffs are locked up. I declared the playoffs locked up like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but.
And who are they for, like, really anyone right now, I think? And it goes back to, I think, Tom Brady's comments recently, where it's just the quality of play is down. Interesting coming from the source there with Tom a little bit, I think. But I don't know. I thought he made some salient points. And I don't know. I just generally tend to agree. I think the Chiefs they just kind of got the rabbit's foot up their ass, and they're going to win a lot of those types of games. But even they look pretty beatable to me right now. But even, they're still the gold standard. And, I still think more than likely AFC is going to run through Kansas City. But the Bills, they drop another one today. Dolphins, they've looked beatable as well. So relative to your competition, you're looking pretty much on par. You do want to look a little bit better, but the fact that they are 9-3, they're in the driver's seat right now, heading into their bye, and good thing you got to that bye at 9-3. A late bye is a good thing when you can get there with a lot of wins. So
certainly, a lot of comments about Zay Flowers screens. I still love him. I like that Monken makes the defense respect the width of the field. I think that was a fault of the Roman era, was allowing defenses to flood the middle of the field, where Lamar Jackson does prefer to operate in high leverage passing downs. The Chargers were playing soft. Then they started to come up. They started to stack the line, and Khalil Mack was just beating their ass too.
Yeah,
he is having a hell of a year and was just. Yeah.
That's where it comes down to me. Like all this freaking out about the coaching, this and that. Like a lot of the shit just comes down to talent, man. Like who's got the best player versus not the best player, and that's what we saw with that tackle matchup, and then moving Mack around, and then we saw that with Zay Flowers closing the game out. Glad they have the talent for the floor there. Brian, I want to get your thoughts on Gerald Everett's Ray Lewis celebration in the end.
Yeah, no, that got everybody pretty fired up. And to be honest, I thought that the game was over right then and there. I was like, we're going to respond in a big way here. We just can't have that happen, especially on national television. So, yeah, he's not the first one to do it. I don't remember anyone like really coming through on and it's just a crazy move to do it when you're losing.
I mean,
and getting beaten like a drum all night.
The TO one.
Yeah, I mean that's the most notorious.
Yeah.
I think Odell did one with him once.
Yeah, I guess while we're on the topic of the celebrations, there's a lot of conjecture out there about the Zay Flowers celebration, the first one. My question more so is, why is that one coming out before the penalty kick one?
This penalty kick one was so good.
That was sick.
So good.
What's that about?
Pinaldo.
I don't know. Maybe I think
great job by NBC having the wedding music ready. Very nice production work.
Yeah, I like them both. I don't know. Lamar is just like furiously against that first.
Yeah, a little weirdly no fun from Lamar. I mean, geez, man, like. Let the guy have some fun. The clip of Zay Flowers like following him, being like, "Dude, what's the issue? Like, why are you?" He called it ass in the post game presser. Lamar, he's still talking about it.
She got a great ass.
Yeah,
it truly hurt Lamar. Like he was disappointed in his little buddy. He's like, my little buddy's out here doing some sussy stuff.
I kind of like it. We gotta tighten up the coaching. We gotta tighten up our celebrations. There's a lot to the clappers got to tighten up some things. Everyone's working on stuff still. Season, is just getting underway here.
A lot of football left. Man, bye week. Ravens win. 9-3, man. 9-3. Baltimore Ravens move to 9-3, and they have.
When was the last time they were 9-3? It's been a long time.
It's 2019.
Yeah,
been a minute.
Other than that, I mean,
this is one of the 3-4 best starts in franchise history.
It's not often you get off to a start like this.
06, I imagine they were 9-2, if I'm not mistaken, at one point in 06, and they got
lost 3 games all season. So
they were 9-2 in 2012, and then some stuff happened.
They were 9-2 in 2012, right? So one of the 4 best starts or so, ultimately. And I don't know. You make a good point, Jake. At the end of the day, like the quality of play is down, but they're finding ways to win. And I'll go ahead and do it. I'll do it. The Ravens have won the AFC North. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson's getting his
not for long.
Beat.
Not for long.
Getting his booty beat.
Steelers are kind of hanging out there.
The Steelers, sure.
By the way, it is I looked at this earlier, and I'm pulling it back up so I don't get it wrong. The Steelers' schedule down the stretch is so manageable.
It's easy.
Cardinals at home, Patriots at home, and by the way, the New England Patriots. Oh my God! I mean, they are so bad. Colts at the Colts. Versus me and Brian's guy Jake Browning and the Bengals, who you and I thought was frisky, didn't work out well today.
Never forget the Jake Browning, Sam Darnold #1 overall pick race.
Yeah,
we hardly knew you.
At the Seahawks, at the Ravens. I mean, could easily win. They're not going to probably because of the nature of how they play. At some point, they're just not going to be able to score enough points. But they played well offensively today. They could win all 5. Like they could have 12 wins. It's crazy. It's amazing that team could have 12 wins rolling into the game.
I refuse to accept that reality. 10 wins max. I refuse.
No, I
literally
agree with you. It's but they're grinding out wins, man.
It's there in front of them.
Grinding out wins. So.
It most certainly is. Anything else? Any fleeting thoughts? Anything else on this one? We're coming up towards an hour here. It's a late game. If you're listening, if you're watching, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the Exit 52 YouTube channel. We only did this one on YouTube. We appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our best shot. We gave it the old college try at our instant analysis. We do what we can here. Jake's boy, John Simpson.
Didn't know what to do after.
That's incredible. Also an amazing screenshot that they use in this.
John Simpson, like some of the funniest pictures you'll ever see somehow come out of John Simpson in the locker room. He's quite the memeable individual. So had to get that in there.
I have such a good stupid like Instagram that I just thought of for our Instagram account. Somebody posted 4 and 7 of Gerald Everett doing the
Ronald Tooth, our guy.
Shout out to Ronald Tooth. And I'm gonna steal that from him, give him credit, and I'm gonna put the song "Hot in Her" on and say Brandon Staley's seat sure is getting hot.
I mean, his seat might be nuclear at this point. I think he might be wake up. He might wake up next morning and the ejector seat gets hit, and he's just out floating in the air.
That's the ejecto-cito cuz situation.
Yeah. I think he might be waking up to a pink slip.
The only thing I was going to say, because you talked about like the context of the overall play in the league, and there were so many bad matchups today on paper. The Bills-Eagles game is probably the game of the year so far.
Oh yeah, big time.
Incredible.
That was fun. We were doing a quick little kind of we didn't get a preview show out, so we were doing a quick little pregame show to get our predictions out there. And I was telling him it was like the SpongeBob meme with the guy like turned around, like we were both watching our TVs as we were kind of trying to break this game down. That was an awesome game. Broncos Browns, good game. Mr. Unlimited slowly kind of coming, getting
Here comes Sean Payton. Here comes Sean Payton, 6-5.
The pregame Chris Thompson and Sean Payton like suck fest of the great turnaround in Denver, and it's like, okay, they're 5-5. Let's pump the brakes here a little bit.
Did you get any good exclusives from Sean out of that, or?
Oh boy,
Taylor, I'm sure you've got thoughts on this.
I don't know. It's so tough. I don't know why she would have ever. Why she
said it a long time ago. That was like the third time she did.
I don't know why she said it again. You know what's going to happen. You know that everyone's going to do exactly what they did and put out 5,000 quote tweets being like, "This is an abomination against the world of journalism." I mean, you're going to get that. It's not going to cost her a job. Sure, she's fine. I guess it probably costed her some credibility amongst her peers.
I don't think it does, though. What has anyone ever really listened to the head coach? Like, there'll be like the Greg Popoviches of the world, or like I can't think of an NFL one
who made a career of just dunking on Craig Sager and like not actually saying anything. That was more just for entertainment value.
It is amazing that Pop's ability to be a media darling and just not participate in anything the media ever wants him to do. It's probably because of his politics, but like. I mean, that's what it is for sure. He's outspoken in that way, but like he just makes reporters' lives a living hell in the silence. Everyone's like, "Oh, Pop,
Pop, just doing his thing," and then
just being a jerk.
Brandon Staley's like, "Stop asking me these questions." And everyone's like, "Ew."
It's like the Gordon Ramsay meme, like the "Shut up, you fucking donkey." But yeah, no, Pop, a rough night for Pop the other night too, grabbing the mic, saying, "Stop."
Yeah, I mean that just felt, and he looks like Donald Sutherland. I can't.
That's my guy, Jeremy De La Rosa, big Spurs fan. I think that's his name. He tweets at me a lot of Spurs updates because I complimented.
Also, there are some times where the booing on guys coming back is stupid, and the Spurs fans should have every right to boo Kawhi Leonard. Like he just hated playing there. Like outwardly wanted to leave. It's like, oh, that's fine, boo him.
It's like whenever Rashid Suleiman, no matter what jersey he was wearing, he went back to North Carolina.
Definitely doesn't care. He's like, whatever. It worked out for me.
Yeah.
I won with you. I won with Toronto.
I think it worked out for them too. But that's enough.
It's low-key reverse psychology. Like that, you get Kawhi to start thinking about it by saying, "Stop booing." He's like, "What? Why are you doing this?"
I didn't even know what you were
Subtle
saying.
reverse psychology.
To circle back to the quality of play, they showed the AFC playoff picture graphic during that Eagles-Bills game, and you just look at the teams, and there's just not. You just don't feel like there's a ton of contenders, and that strikes me every week. I keep waiting for there to be more good teams.
Yeah, like
in
it
the
would be
NFL, and
great
there's
to
just
be,
not that many.
It would be great to be the one shining star among this group of whatever we got going on with the league this year, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So all you can do right now
There's
is
still a lot of football left.
Yeah, a lot of ball game left. You can just
We're not
keep
that
stacking
deep.
these
We're
wins.
pretty deep, but we're not that deep.
Like
Yes.
do we feel like, and then we can get out of here, but it feels like a clear top 4, right? Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens, 49ers.
Sure. Dolphins are. I feel
Dolphins,
like
yeah.
you catch
Yeah.
Dolphins are the
And
Cowboys of the AFC.
I
That's
do think that
my
the Cowboys are pretty
Sure.
good, but no, you can't even analyze the Cowboys at this point because it just becomes a gigantic, first take skip-a-thon. So you can't even really analyze them as a football team. I do like the Dolphins.
I like I'll say I like the Jags too.
Okay.
We do have 49ers Eagles next Sunday, 425.
Oh,
After that Bills game.
the
And
Eagles,
if the Eagles win that, man.
The Eagles are just in banger after banger after banger.
If the Eagles win that game, they won't win the Super Bowl. That's gonna. I'll say that. That is the definition of
and
peaking.
then the Eagles go to Dallas on Sunday Night Football. I mean, what a schedule!
Truly.
Then it's very easy after that. Seahawks, Giants, Cardinals, Giants.
Yeah. Couple layups there. They'll be
Giants double dip there is pretty wild.
But this is an incredible stretch for them. Cowboys at home, at the Chiefs, home for the Bills, home for the 49ers, at the Cowboys.
It's tough.
A lot of TV ratings. What do you guys think about? You guys want to talk Dolly Parton and Jack Harlow? You want to talk?
Oh my god!
I know you got some thoughts on Dolly that I don't know.
I could be Jack Harlow. I could be Jack Harlow.
No, the Dolly thing was very bizarre. But the Jack Harlow thing was tough to watch. It felt like that felt
like Marky Mark on the Manning cast. Like you did. I don't even want to be around anymore.
How has the NFL not just brought in Creed to do it again? Like if that's the meme is so like
it was in Dallas. I mean, it's in Dallas every year. Yeah, just bring it back.
Do it.
Yeah. I'm seeing Creed.
And by the way, the NFL knew what they were doing, putting Dolly Parton out there too. I mean, they knew what was going to happen there.
Like, goddamn, I thought Eric was going to have a 5-alarm fire in his house. I mean, the stuff that he was saying. God, he's not on here to defend himself, but
something wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
My God, after his gets all.
I honestly couldn't see. I was cooking and couldn't see, and was like, "How naked is she?" And then I got close to TV. I was like, "Okay, she's wearing tights and stuff." I was like, "All right." For a second, I was like, whoa.
It was fine. I mean, it's just they knew exactly what they're doing, putting 70-year-old.
PFT said if there was a queen of the United States, it'd be Dolly Parton. And I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Yeah,
Middle America fucking loves Dolly Parton.
She has her own theme park. It's the largest wooden roller coaster theme park in the world.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to Dollyland. It's a delight.
It was just such a bizarre sequence of events. She's obviously out there doing her thing. She's covering Queen songs, which was weird. And then Romo I just don't know what he's doing there. Come on, man.
He was talking to Jim in such a weird way, asking for Jim's opinion on things football related that was making me start to. And I still like Romo. I do too. I like Nance too. I just think those guys have maybe become too good of friends, and it almost feels like they're just kind of up there chatting. Which he'll be like, I don't know, Jim. What do you think that the Eagles should have done? And Jim's like, I don't know, run the ball.
You
feel like a conversation.
I think Joe and Troy are boys, but they keep it dialed, man. Just dial.
They're by the way, they're far and away the best team right now.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Al Michaels' story on the Black Friday game of how Mike McDaniel met his wife. I don't know if you guys watched that game. It was
Did not watch a second of it.
Please, Taylor, please go watch this. Search Al Michaels, Mike McDaniel wife, and you'll find it. I'll find it for you. He was trying to deliver a story with comedic effect and cadence about Mike McDaniel effectively met his wife, I think, at a club or a bar when he was coaching at a college, and a player was dancing with his now wife, and he was like, "Get away from her, or you're not allowed to practice tomorrow." He just he just big leagued him.
Was like studio girl. Mike
yes. And then ended up marrying that woman. He delivered it so awkwardly and so out of rhythm and emphasis on the wrong syllable that Kirk Herbstreit is sitting there like this, and it's showing the booth. He's like, "Yeah, Al." Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
And Al was also just absolutely dunking on Dave Chang and his sandwich that he gave him there. He saw the green thing in there, and he was just losing his shit.
Al, it's time for Al to hang it up.
So
Taylor and I had that
Tyreek
conversation
just got
maybe 3
married
or
or
4 years
whatever.
ago.
We did. Yeah, me
Tyreek
and
Hill
Brian
got
have had
married
this
to
conversation.
Kenny Vaccaro's sister, and Tyreek scores a touchdown, runs up, gives his wife the ball, and I was like, oh, whoa. After he was just talking about how he recently got married as part of their little graphics package, he's like, well, I sure hope that's his wife. And it was like,
Al,
I don't know
I like
if
Al.
you're not.
Al,
I just don't know if you're kidding.
Al had an incredible run. I also don't know
Al's
how
a legend. Al is a fucking legend. He should be allowed to be involved in broadcasting in some capacity. It's unfortunate because like Vern Lundquist, like he'll be in that tower at 16 at Augusta until he dies, which, you know, hopefully, knock on wood, that's not going to happen anytime soon. I'm not saying that. Shout out to all my John Madden people that still come after me for that. Vern is a legend. You don't really have that with football, especially with a guy like Al. Like you can't just kind of like put him somewhere to have the occasional kind of hop in, you know, parachute in.
You can't hide him.
Quick take, yeah. So that's going to be tough, but Al's a legend. Let's just enjoy the novelty.
Fox is doing it with Terry Bradshaw every Sunday. We'll say that.
Corso too on game day. I mean, it's the same.
That's
it's
true.
Yeah, by the way they get Corso through those shows every week is an incredible job by them.
Yeah,
and Corso still has it. Like he still does. Like he's you know given the great pick to Aiden Hutchinson. Like he's him putting the Buckeye thing, like waving at he's still got it. It's just, you know, but yeah,
telling
they do a good job.
his pick stinks. That was
like it's still all there. I mean, what a legend. Lee Corso's such a legend. I love that guy. But yeah, Michael's getting, and Herb Street, I don't even know if he knows what football he calls. He does so many freaking things.
Him and his dog, man.
I was gonna say the Big Ben maintenance is probably
the dog is becoming a social media star.
Well, that he should be.
Yeah.
It's like the random he was barking at the AKC on Thanksgiving. He was barking at the AKC.
Dog show. Yeah,
he's barking at the dog show, just like jumping and barking. You can also tell the dog's old, but not too old.
Herbie's done an incredible job of being entirely overexposed and not being unlikable. Everyone still likes him. He's on TV constantly,
and he takes his stands too. He's a pretty
he's good
fiery guy every single week. At some point, it's usually always college football. He doesn't really have any fire about the NFL. And he's open about that. He says college football is way better.
You can kind of tell he's there getting a check.
By the way, the visual of Desmond Howard and Urban Meyer standing within 10 feet of each other as the that end of the Ohio State-Michigan game happened, and Desmond Howard is just losing his shit celebrating, and Urban.
I think it's Charles Woodson.
Charles Woodson. I'm sorry. Yeah. And Charles Woodson just
a lot of Michigan guys involved.
Yeah, too many Michigan men. But yeah, and then Urban just kind of slinking away as Seawood is just fucking it
was perfect. It was so good.
In the end zone. It was amazing.
What an unbelievable game that was. What an unbelievable week. The Thanksgiving games were pretty freaking. I mean, that Lions game was awesome.
The Commanders Cowboys was awful.
Yeah, it was
it's fine. That was fine. We needed that. That was like dinner time anyway.
I fell asleep for the third game. I'd eaten so much.
I watched a little bit of the Egg Bowl, which was a terrible game. There's also a lot of good college basketball on.
There was a lot of good college football. I mean, the Apple Cup was sick.
Oh my God, the Alabama Iron Bowl was
amazing. Yeah, Iron Bowl was an all-timer. Yeah, just a big football weekend, and a great way to close it out here. How about that?
Great way to close it out. Heading into the bye week, we'll get championship football. Alabama, Georgia next. Oregon, freaking Washington.
Oregon, Washington might be the best football game of the year, or the football game of the year besides the Ravens. I'm looking forward to the most.
I hope Washington. I hope Washington really straps it in because I have a feeling Oregon might run away with it.
I would love a thrilling Big Ten championship. I don't know if we get it, but I would just love Iowa to just take
Kirk
that.
Ferentz just putting his nuts.
Like, I love Michigan. I've always been
Iowa the year they got it down to the goal line there in the Big Ten championship and came up short.
Yeah,
it has a lot of that energy.
It's Michigan State,
yeah.
Certainly. So now we get bye week, we get championship week, and man,
it's a perfect week to have a bye week with just being able to watch all the college football games. Perfect week.
Most certainly. And it's a perfect time for you guys to like and subscribe to this channel if you are still with us. Been over 100 of you guys this whole time, so we appreciate everybody tuning in. Ravens move to 9-3, sole possession of first place as things stand. We'll see in 2 weeks how that cookie crumbles as the Ravens have a pretty tough stretch ahead of them. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll get you guys out of here.
Yep, absolutely. You can follow the show on all the social media at Exit52 Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me at Jake Luke. That is LOUQUE. Spencer is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4. Taylor is at Taylor Smythe 10. Ryan is at Barstool Banks. Eric is at EDITTI22. YouTube, go subscribe to that sucker. Like all the videos, comment on them, get that algorithm pumping. We absolutely love it. And we absolutely love that the Ravens.
Also on TikTok, I'm going crazy on TikTok.
You're starting to get really dip the toes in there. I'm liking
Yeah,
that.
I'm enjoying your TikTok.
Nothing gets me more fired up than TikTok likes. So go.
That is the platform that was built for you, by the way. I'm surprised you're just coming to it.
I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy too much noise. I don't like noise on my phone often.
That seems like you're an overstimulation guy, so that surprises me. But okay, well, that's enough. That's talking TikTok strategy, but yeah, plenty more of that. Go follow it there. Appreciate all the interaction here, guys. Like you said, plenty of people hanging out with us here on the post game. Some negatives, but a lot of positive to take away from it too. As the Ravens are 9-3, nice bye week, nice little relaxation, relaunch point here for the Ravens as they head into a critical stretch, like we've said. So thanks again for staying up late with us, guys, and we will talk to you again very.